Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Have you smiled today? Today is Belle's Let's Talk Day, so I thought I'd make a video and start the channel on this day. Um, Over the years, I've really seen the initiative grow that Belle started. Um, I don't know how much you know about it, but now it has 1 billion interactions every year on this hashtag. And it's something that I think is really critical for us to beat the stigma that exists with mental illness. So I myself decided that, I'm gonna start talking about it more openly. This channel will contain a lot of information about some of the mental health issues that I have been through, what I have found, what I've discovered, what I've experienced, and how I overcame it, how I recovered. Today's video will be mostly about the stigma that I feel that exists. Now, all of this is my opinion, some of it is observations and experiences. So if you want to see more videos like this, please click the subscribe button and leave a comment. Let me know what exactly you would like me to post and talk about that would help you. Now, let's talk about the stigma that's around us on mental illness. This is what I've experienced myself. Let's talk about the work environment first. I've been in the corporate environment for a long time, over a decade, and it's really hard to talk about mental illness, depression, anxiety, PTSD. Work is all about getting the work done. It's about making money. It's about making the company you work for money. And even though we have lots of great employers out there who truly care about mental health, it hasn't gone mainstream yet. People still hesitate to talk about it. And this is why I feel it's that way. Imagine going to your boss and telling them that you can't handle something emotionally, that you are struggling. Now, in the work environment, it shows weakness. What if you go to your boss and you tell them that you're having anxiety today or you're depressed? Next thing you know, they may judge you. They may judge you unfit for the role. They may think that you cannot handle the stress or the pressure of the job itself. What if you go and talk to them and tell them how overwhelmed you are, they find you weak? Or when you do raise an issue, what if they judge you through that lens that it's not an actual issue, but it's an issue because you, someone who's depressed or anxious, is bringing it up and that it's the way you think and not the actual issue itself. So it's not easy to open up at work. It really isn't. I know some countries in Europe have mental health days. We're in Canada, we're not there yet. We're trying to be, and I think it's great. But when you look at the corporate environment or when you look at the business working environment in general, people take days off, sick days off, when they need mental health days. That's the reality because they can't admit it. Um, Look at disability, something that is, really, really well attended to in Canada. We have all kinds of awareness. We have facilities built so that we can facilitate, we can enable disabled people to get to work, to perform work. But it's not the case because mental illness is invisible. So no one can see it and no one can really attend to it either. So if we hopefully put as much attention as we do on, taking care of people who are physically disabled, to enable people who are maybe mentally disabled or have mental illness, maybe we can go further in the work environment and actually enable people to talk about it openly. But the judgment has to stop. It's the judgment that stops us from opening up. From my personal experience, I remember having a death in the family and I was severely depressed. My supervisors knew about it and they were really nice people, really fun people to work with. But as soon as I became depressed, my performance wasn't up there and the empathy wasn't there either. That's where I wish we could be a little more compassionate as a country, as a nation. And within a month, I was packaged out. So that's the reality. People can only handle it as long as it doesn't affect them negatively. As soon as your mental health affects your bosses, you could be judged. So I'd be careful about opening up at work. Even now, on Bell's Let's Talk Day, that's what I would advise. That's my personal opinion. Let's talk about family. A lot of the mental health issues that we have come from our childhood. The traumas that we faced, the rejection, the heartbreak, the loss, whatever it was. Anything from the death of a pet to losing a loved one can traumatize you. And the reality is that we carry it and we learn to process it when we're adults, sometimes, in our middle age. Um, when that happens, we tend to really, really freak out over like there's something wrong with us. But when we try to speak up about it, not everybody in your family is going to understand. Not everybody's going to take accountability. I remember when I realized some of the triggers were from childhood for my anxiety, and I went and spoke to some of my family members. They didn't understand. They denied it and they invalidated it. So this is the reality. You must understand the stigma exists for a reason. The stigma exists because not everybody will understand, not everybody will empathize. Some people will deny, invalidate, or judge. So, once again, I would caution you. You should be very careful as to who you're opening up to. Just because somebody's family doesn't mean they're good for you. If you have anxiety, depression, PTSD, or any other form of mental illness, you have to be very careful who you open up to, because some of them may not be ready. Just looking at my notes over here, Canadian culture has come a long way in getting research done. Center for Addiction and Mental Health does really good research. And so this is, for example, Bell's Let's Talk Day initiative have donated millions of dollars to CAMH, Center for Addiction and Mental Health, and they've come up with really good research. If you want to recover, if you want to feel better, do better, you'll have to understand what's going inside of you better. I would urge you to read some of those research. They have papers on anxiety, depression, PTSD, and a lot of other things that you might be struggling with. And that helps you understand what's going on inside of you, how to deal with it, what actions to take. Then you can actually work on your recovery. Let's talk about culture. I come from Bangladesh, so mental illness is just something that's not talked about in my culture. It's considered weak, more so because I'm a man. So we've just never talked about it. On top of that, we are immigrants, which means that when you come here, if you're a first generation immigrant, and when you come here and you try to settle down, you try to find a good job, you try to make a good living, you try to thrive, you have so much to do. You have bills to pay, you have kids to raise. It's really hard to focus on how it's emotionally, mentally taxing you, exhausting you. It's really hard. Culturally, I can honestly say there's simply not enough recognition for how we struggle mentally. So your culture might be like that. Your culture might naturally invalidate your mental health issues. I would urge you to educate others, raise awareness, whether it's through memes or articles, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. As long as you talk about it. That's what I did. You see, I went to my folks and I told them I have anxiety, depression, and PTSD. I told my friends, I told a lot of my close relatives and friends so that they understood what I was going through. Not everybody's going to be supportive, not everybody's going to understand. But that's when you filter out some of those who are going to stick by you like a rock. And those are the people who are going to help you recover. They will not judge you. They're going to empathize with you. They will accept you, even though you're struggling, even though you don't have much to offer. They will accept you and they will help you to recover. I urge you to find friends like that, family, relatives like that, so you can work on your recovery. Just looking at my notes again. So, what are some of the solutions for beating this stigma? Once again, this is my opinion. As I said, if it's not safe to open up at work, sometimes may not be safe to open up in front of family or friends either. It is really, really important that you speak to a professional. Um, you might have EAP access, you might have access to a counselor through your work. I would look into that. Now, mind you, my experience with counselors have been a hit or miss. I remember one time when I showed up to a counselor and I said I have anxiety, they said, you should read this book. Um, don't sweat the small stuff. And he didn't understand at all. And he didn't empathize at all. But it is a starting point. Talk to your family doctor. Um, find ways to talk to a therapist. That will really help you. Those are the people who will understand what's going on and help you ground yourself and find ways to navigate around and still maintain a good quality of living. Um, be vigilant, be very careful, my friends, who you share your struggles with. Surround yourself with positive people because they're the ones who are going to help you through. Anybody who's toxic, anybody who's triggering you, you have to let them go. If they're still around you, they're going to continue to trigger you, and that will hinder your recovery from your mental health issues. And finally, meditation is so critical. Meditation, affirmation, these are all very, very important for recovery. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to cover a lot of topics on mental health issues, what I've faced, what I've had, what I've experienced, and how I've recovered. I would love to get your feedback on exactly what you would like me to cover. Now, I'm not a professional. I can only share my experience, but I can tell you this much. Mindfulness, meditation, it's a real thing. You really can recover by doing it, by practicing it. We can literally, our mind is so powerful, we can literally rewire the brain and make it work for us, make it recover from all the trauma that you have faced. It is very possible. There is so much hope that you have nothing to feel discouraged about, even though your brain tells you otherwise, even though your reality tells you otherwise. I promise you, recovery is an amazing thing, and it is so worth going through just to get there. Now, just remember to take pockets of time and space through the day. When you're struggling, when you're overwhelmed, take a deep breath, pull yourself back, slow your thoughts down. Just slow your whole life down just for a few minutes and see how that affects you. See how that helps you. Go take a walk, take a break. Even at work, look away from the computer. Just give yourself a few moments of breath and space every time you feel overwhelmed. And don't feel no shame for that. That is your right. You have to take care of yourself. It's 2020, my friends. The stigma is still strong. Even though there's good initiatives out there, there's lots of research being done, um, the stigma is still very strong. So we have to be careful. We have to be vigilant. But at the same time, if we don't speak up, we will never get there. The only way it'll work is that if we all speak up. So be brave, be unapologetic. Show up to a friend or a family member, look them in the eye and say, I have depression, anxiety, and PTSD. What do you have? This is how I deal with it. This is how I'm recovering. This is where I am. This is what I'm working on. If they judge, they shouldn't be around you. And if they accept, they're exactly the type of people that should be around you. So, I wish you the best. Please, let's talk about it. Talk to your friends. Talk to a professional. Talk to your loved ones. And let's beat this stigma so that our children can grow up in a brighter, more beautiful, safer, less stigmatized environment. Until next time, peace.